also about the topic of Black Lutheranism, it doesn't just stop or start at Rosa Young. So from my studies, I also learned about a guy named Deacon Michael, the Ethiopian.
Yeah, that was the exact next question I was going to have of what was the impact of Deacon Michael, the Ethiopian, that he had on the Reformation and meeting with Luther and all that.
So there's two ways I could answer this. I'm trying to debate, should I do one or should I talk about both of them? His impact on the Reformation is huge. So there's a lot of misconstructions when people talk about the Reformation. They make it sound like Luther wanted to break off and start his own thing, that he just didn't like the Pope or something like that, or a problem with authority, when none of those are true.
Right.
None of those are true.
He got kicked out.
He got kicked out. He didn't want to leave. He got kicked out. And even when, I won't go into detail too much about it, but even before he got kicked out, there's a certain time span when he agreed to stop talking about it. It was supposed to be a debate between Eck and, I just had the guy's name in my head, Karlstadt. Between those two, but Eck wanted to debate Luther, and in Luther's notes, when you read the Lipsbig, whatever it's called, you could find it.
Yeah,
debate. Luther basically says that I agreed not to talk about this so it could die down, and we actually have basically a productive conversation. Right. But Eck kept baiting him. And then Luther ends up being the guy at the debate, which kind of set things in motion. His goal wasn't to divide or cause this type of controversy, in a sense.
Right. Exactly.
All that to say is after he's kicked out, his goal wasn't to start a new church. Him and Melanchthon wrote to the Eastern Orthodox, never got an email, never got a letter back. I'm thinking about Google and so on, but they never got a letter back from them.
Right.
But in Luther's works, you can see how highly he praises the Ethiopian Coptic Church, saying how they've never been under the error of the Roman papacy. They've never succumbed to these errors or this and this. To know that one of them actually came and visited and sat with them and they talked about theology, and they fellowshiped so much about theology and the correct understanding of theology, they actually had the Eucharist together. They broke bread together. Like,
wow. So they were altar pulpit fellowship.
That's how it would be viewed. I'm pretty sure they didn't view it in that manner. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because the church hadn't started yet, but they still wouldn't have communion with someone who wasn't. He wouldn't have communion with Zwingli.
True.
So it does say something to that fellowship of, this is the historic truth that we both hold.
Right.
You're my brother. You're my brother. Let's eat. Let's partake.
Right. And
to know that in the Reformation, Ethiopian Coptic, he held such, I don't want to say reverence, but such fellowship with each other, for that to even take place, for them to invite him up, for them to talk about it, for them to actually banter theology and go back and forth. And his writings about how valued that tradition is and how pure it is a huge thing.
Right.
Especially when, and this is a controversial thing, especially when you know that people reference Luther's later in life era where he talked about the Jews and their lies, how people paint him as this vile person and this and that nature. But you also look at this type of story, and disclaimer, the Jews and the lies, he's talking about the Jewish people from a theological construct, not really a racial.
Right. And he wrote an earlier work called On Jesus Christ Was Born a Jew.
So, right.
Yeah.
So when you look at the actual but it's hard to mention that. People say you're defending what he said. The stuff he said about them as a religious group is also an error. I'm not saying that. Right. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm just saying people try to paint him as a vile racist. So when you're learning about this tradition and you're like, but I heard this about him. Well, then come hear this also.
Right.
Come hear this also. Like, so you can, and then hear about what you just said. Jesus was born a Jew, that writing. Mm-hmm. Hear about these things also. Don't just go by that one particular thing. But Ethiopian, the Deacon Michael, that's huge. Yeah. Like, you never hear about that type of stuff. And to know that's at the foundation of Lutheranism. That's not later on. This is back when they're literally like Augsburg. This is before our book of our whole book of confession, the book of concourse complete. This had already happened. So
and he even said that the confessions were good. Like, he endorsed it. Like, he said something about it's a good creed.
The creed, yeah.
Yep. Wow, that's awesome.
So I'll the one thing. So I would say Black Lutheran are these type of stories that are Lutheranism. It's not a separate subset.
Yeah.
This is our history. This is our stuff. And the only reason why I'll say I call it Black Lutheranism, or people call it that, is because it needs to get highlighted. And it has such an important dynamic in the racial unity and things of that nature that transpire that people don't know. And sadly, we have been painted as a tradition that's not really open to these type of things.